We had a good day today. This is one of these conference midterm afternoon off. So we started the day with some talks and some lectures, and then come 12 o'clock they let us out. And what they did was we went along to go walking across the plains to this place called Saint-Michel. And the idea was that we grab a picnic, and they handed out enough food to last us a lifetime. Obviously, you know, give us enough carbohydrates to get across the great sands. And then we started the big trek. And basically halfway through a grass field, it was shoes off time. So we all took our shoes off, and we were introduced to the native vegetation, and we all had a look and a chew and what was good and what was bad. And then we progressed out onto this slime, really. I don't know, it's a cross between some sort of oil slick and some sort of sand. And we stood there, and our guide, it was like the great Moses with his big staff, stood in front of us, and he gave us instructions on how you walk on this stuff. And I'd heard of things like the Milwaukee Shuffle that people do when there's ice, but this was all about, we got to walk like a duck. We got to bring our toes in really tight so that they dig into the sand. So we all progressed across this vast expanse of sand and oily sand, and it was great. It was like a whole refugee movement. It was like a whole people going across, because we were trying to walk in relative close proximity to each other, because we were told about quicksands and all these things that were going to happen to us if we stayed straight off the path. So yeah, so we walked along there, and every so often we'd come to a river, and we'd send the guide would go ahead, and we'd watch how far the water came up, and we'd look around and we'd look at the small people and the big people and reckon who's going to make it and who wouldn't. Okay, so it took us about 2 hours to get across this massive expanse, and really what it is, it's a delta that the water just empties out of, the seawater empties out of, and then you've got a couple of hours to get across before the tide starts coming in, and they say the tide comes in the speed of a galloping horse. But it was nice to look across at all these other groups that seem to be appearing around the place. So the whole idea was that you walked across this hell as a pilgrimage to get this wonderful monastery which represents heaven. So we all made it. We didn't think we lost anybody. There was a quick head count, and everybody seemed to be present and correct. And we then headed into this wonderful, almost medieval village that led up into this amazing monastery. And it was up all these stone steps, and in between these big high stone walls, and it was really dramatic. We got an excellent tour guide. We got rid of the guy who'd taken us across the mud flats, and with a great thank you. And we then had this wonderful young lady who then took us around this old monastery, and she told us everything we needed to know about why everything was the way it was, and how everything had changed over the centuries. It was an interesting experience. One of the highlights was when our tour guide explained to us that the chanting and the singing was a way to get around the acoustics of these big halls that were inclined to echo normal talks, particularly if you started raising your voice or started shouting. So the whole idea was that you did it in this sort of sing-along voice. So it seemed to be an interesting sort of thing that we've pondered walking around. Maybe this is the way presentation should be given in the future, and get rid of these microphones and let's have some sort of Gregorian chant. How would it go? It would go, I work on lowly fructans, enzymes. I think they're very important, and there's DP3, DP6 and a whole range of enzymes involved. That's the way it went, and the tour guide took us around this place and showed us these amazing little cubby holes and where the monks lived, and it was interesting. We came out then and we went down to this little town that sold everything. It was just full of shops. It looked like something from Harry Potter Street. You know, it was just closed, narrow streets with shops everywhere. And we were sort of thinking, well, you know, this isn't a great idea, having so much, you know, commerce associated with a beautiful monastery. And then the guide was saying that it's always been like this. There've been shops there since the very start. They got to get the money out of the pilgrims, they got to pay for the whole situation, and nothing's changed. And basically the people were there hogging the wares the way they were doing in the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th century. So it's so all in all, it was a really good trip.